Critics Log start at 15375.9. It has been 4 years since the Star Trek reboot brought the franchise back from the grave, and at last we have come to the much anticipated sequel. Was it everything that we hoped and wished for, both as a sequel and as a Star Trek movie? Well, that's what we're going to find out on this.
Hello everyone, I'm H.A.K, and if you want to know what that stands for and what the world is doing with my intro, feel free to ask me. Okay, got that out of the way, and let's never talk about this again. If not, ever. So, but you get the idea. Star Trek Into Darkness has hit the theaters, so let's talk about... Wait, this isn't right. Much better. Would have preferred yellow, but still. So, anyway, my review for Star Trek Into Darkness. So,
shall we begin?
So the story of Star Trek Into Darkness is that it's been a year or somewhere around that since the events of the first reboot movie, and Starfleet encounters a new menace who is a former Starfleet agent or something like that named John Harrison. And when Harrison bombs a Starfleet installation, Kirk and his crew discover that he is hiding in the home planet Klingon world of Kronos, or however it's pronounced in Klingon. So Starfleet sends them and the Enterprise to hunt down Harrison. Now, I'm glad to say that this movie is much better than the reboot. It's not that the reboot was bad. It was great. I gave it an 85 or something like that when I reviewed it on my blog. But it's just a lot better as a movie. Not only was the story a lot more layered than the first reboot movie, but it goes much deeper with the characters. Jim and Spock especially, I thought they gave so much more development than they did in the last film, and I really appreciated that. I didn't think that they went too much into them in the first reboot movie, but they did here, and that's just great for me. The action was bigger, it was even more creative in some special moments, and best of all, it felt a lot more like Star Trek. There were things from the Star Trek universe that appeared more in this film, like Klingons and Tribbles, that made fans or people who are familiar with Star Trek like me feel more at home. Now, sadly, some of the Star Trek references you might not like, because I've already heard from one or two people who have viewed that some of the references, especially in the second half of the movie, are particularly not bad per se, but they felt disappointed that they went with that instead of going with something completely new. And as a result, just like Iron Man 3, the opinions of the people who watched the movie are more or less divided. Not as seriously as Iron Man 3. I mean, yeah, that's going to be hard to compete with the twist that it had, but it was still... You'll still have differences as far as how you view this movie. It's not going to be as any serious, but some fans might be disappointed. I know people who are, so bear that in mind if you haven't seen the movie already. But even if you don't like the references, you have to admit that the whole film in itself is structured very well. I mean, say anything you have to say, or feel like you have to say about J.J. Abrams and his view about Star Trek or anything, but when he makes a movie, he makes a pretty good movie. It's not perfect or anything. This movie still kind of leaves cause for concern for when he does Star Wars 7 and 8 or 9 or whatever, but it's still a good movie, and there's less lens flares. That's a very good thing. There were only like 2, maybe 3 shots where the lens flare was like overdone, but the flares were a lot were not as there wasn't as much flares as there were in the as there is in this one, unlike the reboot. And considering how everyone complains about that, I think that's a pretty good achievement for Abrams, sort of. But no matter how much you view it, one thing is perfectly clear. The guy that plays John Harrison, who is best known for being Sherlock Holmes in the TV show Sherlock, best part of the movie. He gave the best performance. He stole the show, lock, stock, and barrel. It's just, I wanted more of him. He was that good. I mean, he had plenty of screen time. He was very well used, but I just wanted more. It's just his tremendous performance on the way he fights, the facial expressions he uses, his oh so menacing voice. I mean, seriously, if you haven't noticed that in the trailer, then you'll get a pretty good idea of seeing this film. Even if he's not everything that you wanted out of him in this movie, he comes pretty close. I'd say he's probably like he has the second best performance as a Star Trek villain at the very least. I think that's most people are going to come up with. Whether you like the movie or hate the movie, he was that good. So this movie won't necessarily have everything that you want, whether you're a Trekkie and or a Trekker or not. But it's still a great movie that's very well done, has much more development and complexity to it, and is easily a very enjoyable film, and altogether I give it a 90% out of 100. So if you want to see more of my video reviews, feel free to check them out on my channel. But if you want to see more, log on to my blog at hacksreviews.blogspot.com, where I have hundreds of reviews that you can read and enjoy. Until then, everyone, I'm Hack, and if you want to know what that stands for and what in the world it has to do with my intro, feel free to ask me. Oh, come on, I totally had to do that. It's Star Trek!